You know what you can't rely on?
What?
Any of this information, because it's all a big conspiracy.
No, you got me.
Coming up in this episode, the top 5 climate myths.
Plants do need carbon dioxide, but they don't need like an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Plus, an easy thing you can do today to help the Earth.
I'm Ellen. I'm a meteorologist.
I'm Emily. I'm an environmental scientist.
I'm Teresa, and I'm a journalist, and this is
Listen to your mother, Earth.
Climate myths.
Climate myths, and like not even just myths, but arguments.
Yes.
Like ones that you may have heard.
We are here to make you sound smarter.
We are.
When someone tries to tell you something that you just think, that doesn't sound right.
Actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And no judgment.
Oh gosh,
No judgment in this podcast. We are here to clear the murkiness away. We are not here to
Clear
judge.
the air.
Clear the air.
That is a toilet spray that works very well.
Clear the
Clear
air.
the air.
Called Clear the Air. You spray it in the toilet before you poop. It puts a film over the
Yeah.
water and it traps the odors.
Okay, science is amazing and it's always developing, and that's something that you're going to hear a lot in this podcast, but that's a clear example right there.
Godspeed. Like, thanks.
Imagine
Thanks.
the
You're out there
testing
doing the Lord's work.
facility. So,
Now that your bathroom smells nicer.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about climate myths.
let's talk about it, because here's the thing. There's so much information out there. You're hearing it from everybody, your neighbors, your friends, the radio, TV stations.
The social media.
Oh my gosh, the social
Rando
media.
on Facebook.
Right.
But I do think that has changed the landscape of
Yeah.
what we know, what we think we know, and what we believe.
Absolutely.
5,000%.
If you found this podcast on the social medias, then it's a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Yes. We don't hate all social media if you found us through it.
Please like and subscribe and share. Okay, so I want to just start off again by just reiterating that the climate is changing. It is scientifically proven. We have really sound science and sound data on that. So even though it's almost been up to debate or opinion over the last couple of decades, really, we're getting to this point in time where everybody is in agreement that it's happening. Everyone is agreeing too that humans are the primary cause for this acceleration of warmth. So with that being said, there's all still these lingering ideas and myths and arguments that trickle in at Thanksgiving dinner or trickle in on social media. And so we just wanted to take each of these, some of the top ones, and show you what the science says so that you can have a nice foundation to go, okay, this is what is really going on based on science and data.
But Ellen,
Yeah.
hasn't the climate always changed?
Climate argument number one.
That's a good one.
This is true of any good argument. Sometimes it has a nugget of truth, right? Yes, the climate has always changed. Yes, all scientists agree on this. But what is different right now is the acceleration of warmth, especially compared to the fact that we're supposed to be in a stable time frame. So if we go back all the way with me,
back with us.
pre-dinosaurs, if we look using proxy data, so like tree rings, like Emily was talking about in episode 1, and we look at what the climate was like and how it changed, it was incredibly erratic. So we're talking like 10 million years ago, all the way up to about 1 million years. It was massively just like inconsistent. So like fine for the Earth because the life forms on there either had to live or die by it, and they literally did live and die by it, right? But there was no economy.
Things were a little different.
So we go from 1 million years to about 10,000 BC. The global temperature kind of started to even out just a little bit. So there was almost like a base state. It wasn't like 15 degrees hotter than what we experience now. So we have this threshold that's starting to level off, but we still had a lot of intense climate changes. So we had warm periods and cold periods even through that time. But if we go from 10,000 BC to the year 1850, we enter into a stable climate era. And that's what we should be continuing on through, right? For 10,000 years, the climate has been stable across the earth, which means
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
Oh, yes, Aladdin.
Such a crick in the neck.
He lived, the genie, through a stable climate era.
See?
But this is important because the climate was so stable that we were able to, as humans, begin to adapt and build and create and make cities that could survive, make livelihoods that could survive based on fishing patterns or, harvesting certain crops because the climate is stable enough to continue that threshold, right?
Yep.
So the problem happens when we all of a sudden, especially in the 1970s, see a sudden and consistent warming trend, one that has not been seen for like 10,000 years. So this acceleration of warmth cannot be explained by natural causes. The only thing that's changed was the Industrial Revolution. And we're seeing such a link between fossil fuels and industrialization and this massive sudden warming trend since the 1970s.
To learn about fossil fuels, please return to episode 1.
That it's kind of a no-brainer. So yes, the climate has always changed. The problem is we've built our livelihood on a sustained climate.
It's so interesting because there's this climate scientist who I adore. I think you really like her too, Katherine Hayhoe.
Yeah.
She just laid an argument out that we live in the civilization that's just built on the assumption that you'll have a stable climate. And if that changes, then it's kind of like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's not so good.
Hey, Ellen.
Yeah.
Do you remember that blizzard we had recently?
Oh boy.
Record cold. So much for global warming.
So much for
So
global
as a
warming.
meteorologist, do you ever get this question?
Oh my gosh,
Never.
daily. Anytime it's cold outside, I get at least one person that says so much for global warming.
And that brings us to argument 2.
Argument number 2. Just because the earth is warming doesn't mean you're not going to be getting cold snaps. That's what happens in winter. Winter is
still
not
happens.
canceled because of climate change.
If winter ever gets canceled, I'm out because I'm a snow gal.
We're going to have to send
Really
you to the
makes my
South
heart
Pole.
beat.
I also love the snow.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm okay.
It gets old
Have
after
you ever
a while.
been skiing, Ellen?
Okay. Yes. How'd
How'd that
didn't
go
know.
for you?
Story time.
Not great. So
Okay.
the last time I went skiing was in middle school. I couldn't get one of my skis to click in, right?
Oh,
and
no.
over the intercom, it was like, North Middle School, your buses are leaving. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, click in. And it wouldn't go. And so finally I had to click out my other ski and I walked down the hill. And by the time I got there, the buses were gone. Found the payphone, started walking right to it, did not cry. And suddenly one of my teachers was like, Ellen, we waited for you.
Oh,
We noticed you
goodness.
weren't on the bus. And I was like, okay. I got on the bus, immediate tears.
Of
That
course.
was the last time I went skiing.
That would be traumatizing for life. If I thought my bus had left without me and I just walk of shamed down the hill with
Right.
my skis off my feet,
It's a core
I
memory.
mean, you would have to pay me $1 million to get back on those skis.
I don't have $1 million, but you should definitely join us sometime.
All right.
For some skiing.
Yeah, Teresa and I
Okay.
go skiing
In
together.
the hills of Michigan.
Just
yeah.
promise me you won't leave
We
me.
will
It'll
not
be
leave you.
fine.
Absolutely never.
So maybe I don't dislike snow as much. Maybe I'm okay with snow. But
Maybe we just need to get you past this damage and
Yep.
baggage.
this is healing.
Yes. This is a healing.
Welcome to therapy.
But I think the thing is, just because we're seeing a change in climate doesn't mean a complete rewriting of what you normally experience. What we're looking at are trends, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you got a guy walking his dog, the guy is going in a straight line, but the dog is probably going left and right, sniffing
Mm-hmm.
things. But the trend is still the direction that the guy is walking the dog. So again,
And
I
that's
have a
how
really cool
climate
visual.
is?
Yeah, climate versus weather. Weather is ping-ponging back
Weather
and forth.
is the dog.
Climate is the
Oh.
man. So what we're seeing instead is not just record cold won't ever happen or a blizzard won't ever happen. It's what is the frequency of these events and how is a changing climate disrupting your general storm tracks, right? So instead of seeing stability, which means consistency, what you're seeing is instability because of a warming climate. Things are becoming more erratic. So you actually sometimes will see an increase of extremes. So again, we're from Michigan. One of the best examples is literally just the winter that we saw. We had a top 10 snowiest year here, but we also are in the top 10 for least number of days with snowpack on the ground, which means we get snow and it's melting right away.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. If we look back pre-1990s, we had fairly consistent, steady snowpack. So what we're seeing is an increase of extremes and sneaky warmth. A lot of times it's our overnight lows that are upticking or taking the hit the most in terms of global temperature rise. So even if you have 4 days that are especially cold in winter, does that account for almost every other winter night being warmer than average by a substantial amount? No. And does that have an impact on your growing season, your ski season, everything? Yes.
So what about the sun? Does the sun cause the climate to change rapidly?
So, does it cause the climate to change rapidly? No. Does it cause climate change over many, 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 many years? Yeah.
That's an important distinction.
So, if we look at the Milankovitch cycles, we have 3 plane cycles.
There's a fun name for you.
Sorry.
Milankovitch. The Milankovitch cycles, there's 3 of them. They're widely studied, widely known. The first is in the shape of Earth's orbit, or its eccentricity. This actually does change over time, but it changes on a scale of 100,000 years to 413,000 years. So
a long time.
It does have an impact on climate, right? But like not in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Collectively as a human species, not in our lifetimes, right? So the second one is the angle of Earth's axis, or its obliquity. So this is in respect to Earth's orbital plane. But once again, the time scale on this is about 41,000 years. We see a change in its obliquity from 21.5 degrees to 24.5 degrees. So we're seeing a shift, right? And that does impact climate, but not in our lifetimes. Finally, the last Milankovitch cycle, the direction of the Earth's spin. So this is it's called its precession, and this time scale is 19 years to 24,000 years. You might go, oh, 19? That is in our time frame, but the larger end is 24,000. And these are widely documented, well known, and if one was impacting our climate, we would be able to clearly see it. So none of these 3 have been proven by NASA or any other international scientific groups to have any impact, and some of them are just like too dang long for us to even see a change that would worry us or bother us.
So you can't rely on that, or you can't put any blame on that for what we're seeing right now, because this rate is so quick and that period of time is so long.
You know what you can't rely on?
What?
Any of this information, because it's all a big conspiracy.
No,
Teresa.
Our next myth. Busted. You got me.
They got us.
You got us. I'm being paid. I'm not being paid at all. Please
This
pay
is pro
me.
bono.
It's just pro bono.
We're here on a Sunday afternoon for the record.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the conspiracy theory idea. Like, oh gosh, is that a great way to just disregard anything you don't want to listen to? Right? For this particularly to be a conspiracy, it would have to be pretty dang big.
Yes.
Because we are seeing international impacts and scientists all across the globe that are all agreeing that the climate is changing. But we have to remember that weather is internationally monitored. We have all of these meteorological sites across the entire globe, and all of them are collecting data. So for those that think that the data has been changed or something's going on there, I mean, that would have to be a massively big, internationally brilliant conspiracy theory in order to pull off. And it just is not necessarily realistic to believe that. In addition to that, like, let's talk about how no one's harder on scientists than scientists. So if you're looking for information, you want a peer-reviewed article. Anytime someone is doing an article, it has to be peer-reviewed, which means other scientists in that field that are experts read through it and they rip it apart. You know, what did you do here, here, and here? Why isn't this better? And they have to defend or redo that portion of their study so that it can stand the test of science.
I mean, there's inherent uncertainty.
For sure.
In all science.
Yes.
But it's the same science that's allowing us to record this podcast.
Right now, multiple studies on human-caused global warming is converging on 97% agreement. There's also been a lot of studies that show that the more of an expert someone is in a climate field, the more likely they are to be 100% certain that humans are. So is it a big conspiracy? No. Scientists are looking at things that were assumed and about a changing climate and redoing it with the new technology. For example, there was a study that linked shrinking Arctic ice with an increased chance of severe weather in the Americas and Europe. And that was believed about 10 years ago, but scientists didn't stop there. Recently, they reran the data with new modeling, new technology, which think about how much your cell phone has changed in 10 years. So we're talking like massive upgrade in technology. And they found that there might not be as direct of a link. So that no longer stands the test of time for a scientific consensus. However, global warming being human caused has.
And it's just so important, I think, to sometimes be okay with putting your trust in someone who is an expert in a field.
Let's say we had doctors that had 98% consensus that like smoking caused cancer. We would be like, yeah, that probably is. We wouldn't be like, what about the other 1 point whatever percent?
Yeah.
You know, we would just say, oh yeah, that's probably the cause. I think a lot of it is people just don't want to feel like they're tricked, you know? But I think the best thing that we can do is bring down our pride a little bit, open up our humility, and realize that this is happening and the experts are saying so, and that's okay. Like, we can trust that.
Yeah,
It's a good exercise too, because every part of our lives, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
In terms of, there will always be doubters or people who are questioning certain things, and questions aren't bad.
No,
Right.
absolutely
No,
not.
oh my
It's
gosh,
good.
yeah.
We
that's
wouldn't be
awesome.
anywhere without questioning
Yeah,
it.
Right.
If you're here, maybe you're questioning it. Good.
Yes.
Yeah, questions are good.
And I guess just trusting that the scientists are still questioning it too,
Yes.
but that they just keep coming up with the same answer and moving in that same direction.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Don't plants need carbon dioxide?
Plants do need carbon dioxide.
This is our next-
See episode 1. But they don't need like an all-you-can-eat buffet, right? Like,
Best analogy.
just like we need food, plants need food, but they don't need an abundance of food. And if there's an abundance, they're not going to use it, you know? In addition to that, they need more than just CO2. They need like a good, stable climate in order to survive. They don't need a preponderance of drought and then flood, you know,
Yes.
almost like we're seeing in California, honestly, with the atmospheric rivers. Like, is that sustainable for wildlife? It's not the best.
So how about renewable energy? Is it just a way to make money?
Yeah.
That's exactly the end. You got it.
Yes, bye.
No, actually, solar.
It's a pyramid scheme.
It's just a
Renewable
pyramid.
energy.
And if you guys join today,
You get 10% off.
so it's so interesting. It's like solar and wind energy are some of the cheapest ways to generate energy. And as we go, the cost of renewable energy is going down. And one of the reasons why is like humans are natural innovators. Like, do we ever give up? No. The human spirit is just so into like going above and beyond and figuring out the answers. So when it comes to batteries, electric batteries, solar panels, ways to store that energy on cloudy days, ways to make it more efficient. There are constantly studies and improvements and inventions that are making these things so much cheaper and better. And so, I mean, is it in its final form right now? No, by no means. But if we look at the trend over the last 10 years, there have been massive upgrades, and it is, fairly affordable. Not to mention, we wouldn't have to live and die by the gas pump, right? Or the politics related to oil trade. One of the last things that I just, Catherine Hayhoe, again, she brought this up, and I just thought this was, shout out to our girl.
Yeah, love
this
her.
is just such a good point that when we're talking about developing countries too, like let's say Costa Rica, they have no natural oil in their country. We do in America. But in places like that, is it generous if we teach them to industrialize, or if we help them industrialize the same way we did? No, because then they're constantly indebted to other countries. But if we truly want to help them develop, then we're going to help them develop renewable energy like solar energy, which is just massive import for them, so that they can be sustainable. And that's like a clean, beautiful solution that really applies to their area specifically. Of course, there's going to be money if a company develops the best product, but hey, that's the way humans always go.
How can we make our mother
Earth.
proud this week?
I found this really neat browser extension. It's called Beni, Beni, and you can install it in your browser. And then if you're shopping for, I have a wedding coming up. It's kind of a fancier wedding. I was looking for a new dress. So I was shopping online. I found a dress I liked. A window popped up because I have this browser extension installed. And it said, hey, this dress is available on Poshmark, or it's available on eBay. So if there's a used option online, this extension finds it, and then it will just pop up right where you are, and it will just direct you to that page, which
That's
is
incredible.
a great way, to keep items in the cycle.
Good old
That's awesome.
Benny. Benny's
Yeah.
great.
We love Benny.
Coming up next week on
Listen to your mother, Earth.
We will be talking about climate policy in the United States and across the world. So we'll just let you know where we've been,
Yeah.
where we are, where it looks like we're going, and how our policy in the United States compares to what other countries are doing.
This is
Listen to your mother, Earth.